Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome back. So in previous lecture, we just created simple Spring Boot project to implement a one-to-one relationship with REST API. So before explaining one-to-one relationship, I just want to explain you few concepts. Okay. So in JPA or Hibernate, we have a concept called relationships or Hibernate mappings or associations. In Hibernate or JPA, there is a concept called relationships, Hibernate or Hibernate mappings or associations. We can call any one of the technical term. So some people may know only relationship. So we can call it as a relationships or Hibernate mappings or associations. So in Hibernate, we have four types of associations. What are those? Let me note it down. One to one, one to many, many to one, and last one, many to many. I will explain each and every concept one by one. So we are going to discuss about one-to-one relationship. So one-to-one relationship in the sense. So let me tell you example, real-time example, so that you can easily understand. So let me one user employee can associate with passport. One employee can associated with one passport. So this is called one-to-one mapping. This is one universal example. So one employee or user can associated with one passport is nothing but one-to-one relationship. So in one-to-one relationship, so we have to create two entities. One is employee entity. In this example, we have to create employee entity as well as passport entity. So let's create entities. So go to our project, Spring Boot project, and right click on the root package of Spring Boot application. So we are going to create the entities in specific package called entities dot entity package. I am going to create it. Okay, click on finish button. So inside the entity package, I am going to create employee and employee entity class. So in this example, employee can associated with one passport, so we need to create two tables, employee entity and passport entity. So how these two tables uh, can maintain the relationship based on primary key and foreign key. So two tables can associate a relationship based on primary key and foreign key. So primary key of passport will be available in employee table as a foreign key. So I will show you later in a table example. Okay, so let's create employee entity now. So I have created employee class. So to declare our class as a entity, so we have to specify with @entity annotation. So now I'm going to create the properties of employee entity class. Private long, so employee will have employee ID, and private string employee name, first name, private string last name. So for the time being, I am taking only three properties: employee ID, first name, and last name. So now I will create setters and getter methods. Right click on the class source. There is option called generate getters and setters. Select all and click on generate button. So once create setter method getter methods are created, so now we have to define our employee primary key in primary key object, right? So we have to define primary key property. So in our employee ID is a primary key. So how we can define primary key in employee table or any entities? By specifying @ID annotation. Organize the import, control shift O, Jakarta persistent. You can see Jakarta dot persistence dot id. So now who is going to generate this primary key values? So let's Hibernate generate. So with the help of generated value. So Hibernate will generate the primary keys for employee object. So I will use strategy of identity strategy to generate the primary keys. 1 2 3 4 5 like that. Okay, so I have declared my primary key of employee object. So I just created the employee table. That's it. So now let's create passport entity. Click on finish button. So passport also I'm going to define it as a entity class. Okay, so now let me create properties of passport. Private long passport ID and private. So passport will have what kind of value passport will be having? So passport contains alphanumeric number, right? So that's the reason I am taking string number, passport number. That's it. Let's take two properties, enough for us. So now right click on the class and generate setters and getter methods. So if you add a Lombok framework as a dependency, then you no need to generate the setters and getter methods. So in this example I am creating setters and getter methods. So now we have to declare primary key of passport, right? So id, passport id is a primary key in passport table. So now at the rate we have to declare it as a primary id. Organize the import, control shift O, and then let's Hibernate or JPA create primary key for passport entity generated value. So here also I'm going to use strategy, control space. You can see strategy is equal to identity. So to generate primary keys I'm going to use identity algorithm. So now we have created employee and we have created passport entities successfully. So now we need to connect I am not going to create the database table Okay, so let's Hibernate create the database table. How Hibernate will create the database table? So we have to, in our Spring Boot project, there is a resources folder. Here we have application.properties. So before creating employee and passport table, first let's connect our application with MySQL database. So in Spring Boot application, if you want to connect with the MySQL database or Oracle database or any of the database, relational database, you want to have three properties. What are those? Those three properties we have to add into application.properties file. So let me add those three properties to connect with the MySQL database. Spring dot data source dot URL. So to connect with MySQL, so MySQL is having URL to connect with the MySQL database. What is the URL? JDBC colon MySQL colon slash slash localhost colon 3306 is the port number, default port number for MySQL. So I am going to connect with employee DB. So this is the database name. This is the database I am going to create in MySQL database. Okay, so I have specified the database URL to connect with my database. So we have to authenticate with MySQL, right? So we need to provide username and password. So let me provide those properties as well. Spring dot data source dot username equal. So I have installed during the MySQL installation. I have not created any users. So what is the default username? Root is the default username in MySQL, and I'm going to write another property password. So my MySQL database password is admin. That's it. Whatever username your MySQL database, you have to give that username, and your MySQL database password you have to give. So if you want to connect with any database, so Spring Boot, we have to mention these three properties in application.properties. So that's it. So the moment you add these properties, if you start the application, our application can connect with MySQL database. How? Because in pom.xml, during while creating the project, so we have added MySQL connector to connect with MySQL database, and we have added Spring Data JPA to use ORM framework, and that's it. Data JPA and Spring MySQL connector. Okay, so Spring Boot tools is used for without restarting the server. We can our changes can reflect into Tomcat server. So now let me open the. I am using SQL Yoke to connect with MySQL database. So I have installed Community Edition. So you people also can download from the internet. Commercial Community Edition you can download. So you no need to pay single rupee. So now here, so nothing. There is no database available. So what is the database name I have given? Employee DB. So I am going to create employee DB database in MySQL. Create database employee DB. Create. So as of now we don't have any tables. So I am not going to create the tables manually. So let's JPA or Hibernate create the tables for us. What are all those tables? Employee and passport. So I am not giving table names as also. So if you don't specify any table name, so Hibernate will create with the Pojo class, which are the entity class name which you have given here, with the same name. JPI will create the table in MySQL database. So here employee is our table name, and passport is our table name. So now, so how JPA will generate tables for us? So we have to define the property DDL. Okay, DDL. DDL property we have to specify in application dot properties DDL hyphen auto. So the moment you specify a DDL property in application dot properties, so once you enable that, so Hibernate will generate the tables for us the moment you start the server. Okay, so let me add that property spring dot jpa dot ddl hyphen auto. jpa dot I think hibernate spring.jpa.hibernate.ddl hyphen auto is called. I will give update, so nothing but so it will create the table in our database. So let me, so in our as of now in our employee db there is no tables, right? So let me start the server. How we can start the server? So spring boot is having spring boot one-to-one application, so spring boot execution will starts from here. So right click on the project and run as Java application. You can see our Tomcat started successfully, right? You can confirm that Tomcat started successfully and our application are able to connect with the MySQL database. And if you go to MySQL, you just refresh your object repository, right click and refresh object browser, and then check. See, you can see here why tables are not generated. So let me check. I think that property application dot properties I have given wrong. So I think spring dot jpa dot ddl hyphen auto, I guess. So let me stop the server. And also I want to show you uh, I want to show you the moment you start the server, Hibernate will generate create a statement for employee table and create a statement for passport table. So I want to show you those SQL statements also. The moment you start the server, I will show you how Hibernate is creating the tables for us. So let me add that property spring dot jpa dot show hyphen sql equal true. That's it. So now I want to those SQL we cannot it will not be readable format in the console. So I want to format that SQL also. To format the SQL, spring dot jpa dot spring dot jpa dot properties dot hibernate dot format format underscore SQL equal true. That's it. So what this property will do, so whatever SQL query is executing in background, so that structure will be in proper format, we can read properly. So spring.jpa dot show hyphen SQL equal true, it will show the generated SQL statement in the console. So let me start the server. So you can see, go to the database, there is nothing, no tables are available in the employee db as of now. Let me start the server. Why SQL statement is not generated? So let me check. Spring sps spring dot jpa dot. Let me check. So I did not remember the properties, so let me check how we can check. If you don't remember, no need to worry, just go to Google and you just need to know the concepts. Okay, so now Hibernate DDL auto property for Spring Boot. That's it. So it will show us the exact name, exact property. Yeah, Spring dot jpa dot hibernate dot ddl hyphen auto. Okay, so let me copy this property and ddl hyphen auto. Okay, so I wanted to have missed out, so auto equal update. Okay, so now you can see in the console, you can see now hibernate, see how much beautiful it is, so how it is looks like very nice, so you can read properly. So the moment you start the server, jpa is generated, create statement to create the employee, create table employee and create table passport, right? So let me close this. So whenever you forgot, you can just find out in Google. Okay, so now let me open the database. So let me refresh object browser. You can see there is a employee table is created. Just right click and open table. You can see employee table is created and passport, right click and open table. So both the tables are created. So as of now there is no relationship, just the two tables are created. We have not established the connection between employee and passport. All right, so in this lecture we just created entities to perform one-to-one relationship. So next lecture I will create relationship between these two tables to perform one-to-one relationship. Okay guys, okay, so in next lecture we can meet to perform one-to-one relationship. Thank you guys. If anybody watching newly, so you can subscribe my channel, and you can watch all the videos. I have added all the videos in sequential order. You can learn all the concepts one by one. So let me add my YouTube URL. You can see https colon slash slash youtube.com slash at the rate rasul sheikh slash playlist. Just go to this YouTube portal and you can subscribe my channel. So here I have given clearly, you can see play all. So you can see all the list I have, all the list I have given here. You guys can go and learn all the classes. See, in sequential order I have mentioned. Okay, thank you guys, we'll meet in next lecture.